All right, hey hoo, let's get going. Thank y'all. And thank y'all for your patience for letting the Keep America Beautiful get all their good stuff and goodies. I hope if you had needed something to eat, you grabbed it because they had plenty. And we sure appreciate the work that Keep America Beautiful does in our community. I bring this meeting of education to order. We have a quorum, and I just really want to thank the subcommittees for work this week to bring the three bills that we're going to have with us today. I'll probably make some comments later on as more people go in and out about comments and handouts, but in full committee, in this committee, only the bill sponsor speaks, and I'll look forward to them. And I'll save my rest of my comments till later. So let's get started. We'll just go in chronological order. That's usually how I'll do it, make it easier on folks, and that'll be House Bill 59. And that is good Chairman Dave Belton. Chairman Belton, make sure that's you on?
Yes, sir, I am.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Jaspers and members of the committee. I bring before you House Bill 59, Lima Charlie 337557. Again, this is a request by the Pentagon to allow advanced enrollment of military children. I gave you this piece of paper yesterday in the House. It's a red item we have. It's a new item that the Pentagon has come up with. I also left you a piece of paper like this from the Department of Defense that's saying that this is what they're requesting. So military children move a lot. I moved every 2 years. I was born in the Philippine Islands, and every 2 years I'd move somewhere else. That's probably what happened to me. That's why I'm so odd, is I had to move too many times and didn't have any friends. So every time they move, oftentimes it's in the summer. And basically what happens is by the time the family moves into the new school, all the lotteries or all the the charters opportunities are gone because they missed the deadlines. So this would allow a military member who's a child to pre-register once they get their orders to the new school attendance zone that he residing in for purposes of lotteries, charters, magnet schools, that sort of thing. There's no cost involved. The Department of Education is fully on board with it. Department of Education is actually doing a new military-friendly award that they're trying to do. So they're trying to be extremely military-friendly, and they, from what I understand, support this bill. I stand for questions, sir.
Okay, committee, I just had one, Mr. Chairman. I think we talked about this prior. How far in advance do our military folks get orders? I was thinking about this morning, that this would help them.
It's usually about half a year, sir.
6 months?
Yes, sir.
So they could certainly take advantage of
yes,
any
sir.
of them
Yes,
that's
sir.
in their attendance zone.
And they have a piece of paper that said this is where you're going. So it's not like it's a physical document that they could give to the school that they'll be going to.
And just follow up there if you can. So and these are going to say you're going to go to, like, say, Fort Benning. And so, that place covers a large area.
Yes, sir.
A number of counties. How did, just curiosity, that's about me. How do they know which, is it where they end up living, or is it?
Yes, sir. That's a very good question. And I asked the Department of Education about this. And so they'd have to enroll in a school. They'd have to say, I'm going to go to Meadowbrook School in Dougherty County or whatever. And if they did not go to that school, or they lived in a zone that does not belong to that school, then they have to be disenrolled and go to a different school. So they'd actually have to enroll in a specific school. And they have to, what happens is you get military sponsors. So if I get orders to Fort Benning, is Representative Glanton knows, you get a sponsor, and and they start calling each other, say, hey, where should I go to school? Where should my kids go to school? Well, you want to go to Meadowbrook. So then you enroll in Meadowbrook, and then when they move there, they have to move inside the zone that Meadowbrook would entail to be able to continue to be at that school.
Yes, sir, and I'm sure they have a great network of people with the digital media the way it is today.
Yes, sir.
You have a couple of questions. 23, is that Representative Jones? You're on.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Belton, I love the intent of the bill, but just a couple questions if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking just from a QBE standpoint, as that child comes in, if hypothetically you don't get in 6 months before, you get 3 months before, or the 6 months before puts them in say October, November, after they do the seat count, has there been any indication or implication of how it is that we're gonna handle the QBE for that particular school who is expecting to receive that child, but that child isn't yet, quote, physically in class?
That's a great question. My understanding of QBE, they actually take 2 days in that the school, and it's actually the child has to be in that seat on those 2 days. So they would not really affect QBE because the child would not be in that seat, one way or the other.
I guess my further concern, Chairman Belton, is I want the receiving school to get the money so that they can be ready for little John or little Sally. So hypothetically, I think the first count's in October, and if someone on the committee wants to correct me, that's fine, but I believe it's October. If they come in and say October 31st, we still have to be able to give that school the dollars that are necessary to get them through that count period all the way through the spring count period. And I'm just wondering, has that been discussed to ensure that the money flows the way we, look, Chairman Belton, I love the bill. I just want to make sure this receiving school is getting the money.
If I may just, Mr. Chairman, represent, that happens every day in Georgia as people move in and out of different school systems, and they cover it. That's why you'll see the amended budget and the seat council multiple times.
But what I was hoping, Chair, if you don't mind me saying,
Sure.
I was hoping, is there any way that since we have military orders that early, which are different than someone moving in, we don't necessarily have, is there a way to get that information in or no, or do you think we do need to wait till amended?
I think,
I absolutely agree with you. It happens probably every hour in Georgia.
but I think you'd have to make sure that they, because the orders, if I'm not saying, Mr. Chairman, change very quickly sometimes, and they may be at Fort Benning 6 months from now, but 3 months from now, they may be in California. I think it'd be the,
And that
be the
can
difficult
happen. You know,
problem.
I had orders in Philadelphia and ended up in Florida, and that
Yes, sir.
can happen.
I know,
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're saying, yes,
Okay,
sir.
So Chairman Belton, treating it just like, I'll say, quote, any other child who moves into Georgia and we have such an influx, you feel comfortable?
I do feel comfortable. Yes, sir. Thank you. Good question.
Good question. 19 is our good friend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to make a comment. Being retired military and having daughter and son in the military and a granddaughter in the military, and my wife, former military, you may receive notification of change of assignment, what we call PCS. You may receive that notification 6 months to a year out. You may know where you're going. However, you will not have the official orders. You may have only 30 days to transition out and to go to that new station. And generally what we do as we're like I transferred from Germany to the U.S., we normally look at the base, where the base is located, because 9 times out of 10, most of those are going to end up on post housing anyway. And so they would be in that attended zone that surrounds the installation, unless they specifically had a sponsor, as he was talking about, that could help them navigate where they're going.
Do you have any comment?
No, sir. That's a good question.
We have next question for Ms. Carter.
Hey,
How you doing?
good. How are you? First, I want to say thank you. You have been doing an amazing
Well, thank you so
job
much.
for our military families. So, and I was a little tardy, so you may have answered this. So I was just trying to understand, and I guess just listening is it more of just the paperwork, or because what we were trying to understand is what was the challenge with if a family was relocated to Georgia, and I guess they're saying you may get your order 6 months out, and then when they get here, is it that they don't have all the paperwork necessary, or do you just want the school to know that they're coming?
Yeah, and again, Representative, is the first bullet of this document. It's on your page. It talks about that. That's a great question. The fact that we're really trying to do is allow these military children to enroll early so that they could be awarded an opportunity for random lotteries, charter, or magnet school entry. that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And it doesn't mean they're going to get in the lottery. It doesn't, they can enter the lottery in case something happens. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other members have questions? None? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Pass. Got a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The opposite.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're
Thank you,
through.
members of the committee.
The Rules Committee, thank you. Next, House Bill 69. Members find that in their folder. With Representative Turner, it's LC 337546.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bring before you HB 69. And the reason why I misspoke there for a second, because last year, this bill was HB 759, which did pass the House it passed out of this committee unanimously and then on to the House 171-0 before it stalled in the Senate. I just wanted to bring it back again because I think it's important. It's called what I refer to as a starfish bill. It doesn't help a ton of people, but it does help the ones it's most important to. HB 759 is a tweak on the eligibility requirements for the special needs scholarship. The special needs scholarship says if you have a qualifying condition, a few of them as an example are blindness, autism, deafness, then you are entitled to the special needs scholarship. In order to become eligible, you have to be in a public school for a full year, and then you have to begin using those funds immediately if you opt to use them. What this does is it gives some flexibility for folks who don't necessarily want to start using them right away. They can go try some other option, and then if that doesn't work out, they can come back and make use of the scholarship that they have become eligible for. If we don't pass this bill, then those children have to go back into the public school system for a full year to get eligible again. And so that's what we're trying to fix here, so they would not have to go back in for that year since we already know they're eligible. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And then what do you think, Representative, would help the workload on schools, less retesting, less lag time?
Yeah,
I think that's one thing I thought of when I was reading your bill this morning
sure.
that we hadn't thought about. is
Yeah,
that
I
it
mean,
really
if-
helps them manage the school better.
If many of you know that I have a special needs child that we had a great experience while that child was in elementary school, and now they make use of that in middle school because middle school was a little too much for them. But that being said, if we had not put him into a school that had accepted that, then yes, they would have to come back in. The parapros would have to be used. There would be local resources that would have to be used, and it would take up a spot in that classroom and a full year of an environment that would not be the best suited for him.
Absolutely. Representative Carter, I believe that's you.
Thank you. And I was trying to look to make sure if this was your bill last year that didn't pass. And so I want to make sure, I think I understood it, and we were kind of discussing it because I was thinking about Linda Mood Bell. You're probably familiar with her. She's not a traditional school, but if we had a student that was in a public school, had been there a year, and then let's say we tried a Linda Mood Bell before, to your point, going to a school where we could access the scholarship, this bill would allow us to go, if once they finish at the special school, then if we found a school that accepted a scholarship, they could go on to that versus having to go back to a public school.
Correct.
So I thought I understood it. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure we were looking at that.
If I understand what you're saying, then I agree, yes.
Okay.
You can qualify that.
That was a special school. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative, for this bill. I just have one quick question about waiving the prior year attendance requirement. Would that at all have an impact on FTE counts and then in turn impact just the anticipation for staffing and funding issues for school systems?
It wouldn't for the existing schools, no. The program is funded through state funds, so there are no local funds. We're talking about according to the Department of Education, when I asked them about this last year, the question I asked specifically was, how many kids become eligible that don't use the funds? And the answer was between 200, 250, I think, if I remember correctly. So we're not talking about a huge number of kids. That's why I call it the Starfish Bill. You know, it's going to matter to that one. So I don't think it's going to be a huge major impact on any type of budgeting issue. And it certainly wouldn't be for our FTE because those are the funding for that is for children that are actually already in the public school, and these aren't those kids.
Thank you.
Since that's the third. Must have grease on my finger, but the I had barbecue. The third, I did wipe my hands off, but it wouldn't work. The third question about FTE counts and count and seat counts. Mr. McGivney, at the next meeting, I may just, if I won't put you on the spot right this minute, but we may have just maybe a 10-minute little tutorial on how seat counts and funding works, if you would be agreed to do so. Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Any other questions on this bill? I'd be glad to accept a motion. Got a motion to pass, second? Any discussion? Any members? Hearing none. Those voting in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? None. Measure carries.
Thank
Go
you,
to
Mr. Chairman.
rules.
I'm running
You got
there right now.
second one. I mean, you got this. And next, we have our own member, Mr. Randy Nix, with House Bill 130 as he's moving up there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The bill that I'm bringing to you today, I'm going to give you the short reason for it, and then I'll give you a little bit more detail. House Bill 130 is there to give the Georgia Foundation for Public Education the opportunity to apply through the IRS for a 501c3 designation. The Georgia Foundation for Public Education was founded in 2010 by an act of the Georgia State Legislature, and this is the philanthropic arm of the Georgia Department of Education. It has an 8-member independent board of directors. Some of the things that are funded through this, and now this is not a tax credit, but this is donations that may be made by the public, by individuals, by organizations. And there are a number of things that they fund or that they help with: statewide Teacher of the Year, excuse me, dual language immersion, positive behavior and intervention supports program, literacy, STEM, and others. One of the things that they did in October of 2017, they actually established the Rural Education Fund that provides support specifically to rural communities out of this. The projects can be school specific. If you have a donor who wants to fund a project at a specific school or a specific system, can do that. If you have a donor who gives to support the whole K-12 system, then the board decides how to distribute those funds. And like I said, it can be by individual school district if they desire. The opportunity here is pretty great because at this point in time, I've been told by the foundation, they've got several significant donors who are not allowed to give to an organization that does not have a 501c3 designation. They have a different designation. Now, I can't tell you what it is, but it's through the government organization. But this would open it much wider for them to be able to receive donations from foundations, et cetera. If you look at the bill, just a couple of quick things. It talks about the board of directors. This is pretty standard. If you look on page 76, line 76, 77, it specifically says it's for the 501c3 designation. Down at the bottom of that page, they cannot incur debts, bonds, notes, or obligations incurred that would be an indebtedness to the state of Georgia. And They have to make reports every year. This is on, at the line 108, 109, 110. Have to make a report every year, an annual report showing the identity of all donors, and the amount each person or entity donated, as well as all expenditures or other disposal of money or property donated. And we amended that to say that a copy of this also has to be presented to the House and Senate Education Committees when that is made. So, Mr. Chair, that is the essence of the bill. That's pretty standard language in terms of what's done. There have been a number of other organizations with the state who have needed that designation, and it's very similar language for all of them.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, this is one of these feel-good things that all of us need to take credit for, and thank you for bringing it forward. I look forward to seeing great things. I mean, I've seen that public-private partnership that we all strive for and we all treasure.
If I might make one comment on that too.
Absolutely.
And I think Paige has said this, we need to promote this a little bit more. I think there's a lot of other opportunity for it, but a lot of people just don't know this exists. We see the promotion of the things for, that can go to the charter schools or the private schools, but we don't see this. This is for our public schools, so you need to tell your school systems that these are available and they can work on them. So there's a lot of opportunity
And I
there.
believe the foundation will probably come up with a pretty glossy, good-looking.
Well, I think they probably will.
Yes, sir. Okay, first one I have down is 17. Ms. Carter?
Sir. Question. So basically, you're saying that the 501c3 needs to be established because the foundation is not a 501c3. However, the foundation is a nonprofit, right?
That's correct.
So, and you were saying there are some donors who can't give to the foundation because they are not a 501c3. Do you have any information on the current organizations that would like to donate that haven't been able to? That's one. And then two, will the nonprofit be, from the revenue standpoint, be separate from
Chairman Coleman had introduced a bill that had to do with individuals being able to make a donation. So how does that relate to this organization? I mean, would there be two organizations out there where people can choose to be able to give to? Because I think his was dealing with public schools as well. And I can't remember if it got passed. I know we passed it over here, but I wasn't sure what happened on the Senate side.
It did get passed, but as my understanding, that is a tax credit program, so that is totally separate for this. This is a philanthropic. You're donating not to get a tax credit. Okay. So it is a separate program.
Yes. Thank you. I guess, I don't know if there are comments or something that we could consider in terms of the mission and purpose of the nonprofit. One is sometimes what happens is that the 501c3 will then make a contribution, because 501c3s are free to contribute to whomever they want, of the money that's given to the 501c3 not going into the public foundation and not just being basically a pass-through of money. And the other thing, it would be, nonprofits are also commonly in the regular philanthropic world allow for designated, earmarked, targeted funding, but maybe something that we could discuss with how this is going to be formed, or with the board, to ensure, to try to incentivize in a way, or possibly we could actually restrict them from monies that are granted being earmarked and instead simply going into their general funds, so that it can be distributed more equally among schools that might have needs, versus, you know, maybe someone that wants to give to a school that may not necessarily have the most benefit from that money.
I think that would be a discussion for their board, but I think you would probably limit yourself, like in LaGrange. We've got Kia there, and they have funded a lot of things related to manufacturing. I don't know that they would want to give that money that would be distributed across the state. So that's why I say the local people need to go out and find those donors in their area. But I would assume, too, that a number of the larger donors will probably be giving for statewide distribution.
Right. I mean, just again, it was more of a, again, I've seen that happen a lot through philanthropy, where the organization itself is always hands are tied when monies are designated, versus just simply being allowed to be used as general funds. And
And that probably would happen in some instances, but I don't think you could separate that out in here.
And do you know if that is something that they're going to consider? The first thing that I guess I didn't separate my questions regarding it not being just a pass-through vehicle for the public foundation, the nonprofit not being a pass-through.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by pass-through.
So the donor would donate to the 501c3, and then the 501c3 would donate to the public foundation.
If I'm not mistaken, excuse me, I was turning it up because we couldn't hear you. The foundation is the 501c3. No. Is it not?
No,
Oh.
They
Well,
are
I mean,
not now, but they
would
will
be part
be.
of them, but is that not true?
Yeah.
but
They-
there's
yeah.
somewhat separate entities. I mean, we see that with a lot of organizations that, for example, will have C4, C6, C3s, and amongst these different, the C3 can always give, for example, to a C4 and a C6. That otherwise those may not actually be able to give to the C3. I mean, these are
You're way over my head.
maybe something again that I think that maybe a discussion that needs to be had with the board, to ensure that they don't feel compelled to have the donors that give money to the C3 then be used, instead of for C3 programming, to be donated back to the public foundation.
Okay.
Just something
I
that we
would
need
be
really-
sure that board would be more than happy to talk with you about that.
Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is this Board of Directors paid, and it's not a
I-
paid Board of Directors?
It is not.
Okay.
And it is, the board is selected by the State Board of Education. They are appointed by the state school superintendent and the State Board of Education.
Okay, I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, any other members? Seeing none, I'll take a motion. Good motion to pass. A second. All those in favor of this bill moving on by aye? Oh, I did say discussion. I'm sorry. I see caught me on that. Yeah, baby. I have someone. Go ahead, Ms. Carter.
Yeah,
Representative Carter.
ready to vote. But and I think if we could just get a quick answer as to the designation of the foundation, that, because I'm feeling a little unreadiness. I love what you're doing. I love nonprofits, but if we could have that answered, and I think Representative Dickerson was asking about the salary. The bill allows for foundation members to also sit on this nonprofit. But if you guys could just tell us what the designation is for the foundation.
What the designation for the foundation, I don't
You-
know.
The entity structure.
It's a what? It's a 170C1. Me too.
Fortunate not a C2. Is that what we're saying? Whatever that is.
Or C-130, we just fly off in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there we go. Also, discussion continues. Representative Glanton.
I'm okay. I was just going to explain what you were asking for the destination.
Okay, good deal. So, this was back up just one moment. This would, those in favor of House Bill 130 pass by substitute please say aye. Those opposed? I hear none. The bill passes.
Thank you.
On to rules. 1 second before y'all run, since we had 7 when we first got here, just a couple of just continuing like game rules, how we run. If you'll just notice right then, it's a great explanation of how we want to run the full committee. It puts a lot of pressure on you as an individual, and you can spread that to your compadres out there in the 180 of us, or 179 of us that'll be in here. The bill's on you in full committee. Any testimony and et cetera that's going to happen is going to happen in the subcommittee. So you got to know your bill. You need to know it in depth and be able to answer some very tough questions that you ask. And so, but that's part of it. And I think that's what makes it good, and we look forward to doing that. If you have handouts, bring them to my office. We will take care of them from there. Won't allow handouts coming off the floor unless they're approved by the chair. Vice Chairman Chokas, you have some bills to assign to subcommittees.
We have House Bill 68 that goes to academic innovation. House Bill 68, HB 68. We have House Bill 83, and that goes to academic achievement. We also have House Bill 86, and that goes to academic achievement. And then the last one is House Bill 169, and that goes to academic innovation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, and so just in the subcommittees, you'll hear there's an announcement that's going out any moment. Academic achievement is going to meet tomorrow from 1 to 2 in room 406. And yes, I think we're trying to do some fixed times for some of these subcommittees, but it's really tough. As all of y'all know, many of us are on appropriations committees, and they take exception. You got to go. And so that's kind of bogged us down. But achievement will meet. Mr. Chokas is looking forward to listening to what's your bills, ma'am? 32 and 86. So we look forward to that. Any comments from our committee? Here, is that 26 is?
Yes, sir. The Innovation Committee will meet on Tuesday.
You are, okay.
You are.
All right. Do you have a room number yet, or we are working on that?
Miss Engel, Emily, do you have a room number? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Any other members? With that done, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.